Hey YouTube, coming at you with my first Fantasy Cup team. Turtonator, Azu, Tapu Fini. So I basically said I was going to run this team yesterday. I think that so the thought process behind the team. I started 501 with this team. And I'm like, oh, this team's going to run, and then I saw it's sort of not problems, but where you're going to have to. There's some things you need to overcome. Um, but basically, Azumarill, Tapu Fini, they're fairies, so they resist dragon. I will talk about the resisted moveset of water is resisted by dragons too, so we'll talk about that in a minute when we get into the battles. But having fairy, you should be okay. Um, so you just need to watch out for kind of like electric, which there's not a ton running around, and then um, like steels, like Registeel. I think is probably Registeel is the main one that you need to watch out for. So that's why I have Turtonator in the lead. So I this is like quasi ABB where you're trying to draw out like a grass, but there's no grass, right? So you're trying to draw out a Registeel though. That's you're trying to draw out a Registeel. Turtonator takes it out, and then Tapu Fini sweeps. Use Azumarill as a safe swap. Let's get into some battles, and during the battles, I'll go not off court. Oops, I forgot to start from the beginning. We'll talk about stats of Turtonator and everything because it is the weird one on this team. So good lead. There's two. Let's go over with the strengths and weaknesses of this team. Azumarill is probably one of the safest in this league. I did safe swap it when I lost the lead multiple times, and every single time I got hit with a Registeel, and that's kind of the only drawback is that a lot of teams do have Registeel, and there's really nothing you can do about it. The other flaw of this team, as you're seeing sort of right here, is if they have an Azumarill or a Tapu Fini or something like that on the lead, you are just coming into a mirror match at best, right? So it gets a little tricky from that perspective. But again, it's manageable. For Tapu Fini 648, you have to. I had to trade it. I got it on my second reroll, which is lucky. I know people who've taken 15 to 20 tries to reroll to get it below 1500. So it's just kind of you need to reroll for luck. Turtonator was in the raid day that one time. I got like a few and put it in here. What I did a lot, because I had Azus and I had this lot, I always threw the overheat because when you get to the mirror match and you're behind on energy, it's kind of an awkward situation, right? So if I'm going to be behind on energy, I'm going to chip you not a ton, but overheat still does equate a lot of, not a lot, but a lot relative to a Zumo, right? So it does chunk a good amount that you could then kind of deal with what's left of your team to kind of combo it. Turtonator. It is a fire dragon type. It is ranked 7 on PvP Poke in this league. In terms of its stats, you're going to see I'm eventually going to take some moves here. This one is just I think they have 3 steals because they quit immediately. And here's the stats. It's an interesting one. So overall stat product is 1957. So when I say when you're at the 1957 2000 range, that's kind of where like your minimum for your overall stat product wants to be, unless you have like a killer move set. And this is an interesting move set. So you have Incinerate, which once it got buffed, it's basically the best fast move in the game. It's the best fast move in the game in terms of damage and energy combo. It's just whether you consider it the best fast move in the game when you have to a 5-turn move when you get stuff like that can just take you out. Like Disdroin would take me out after shield. Would have hurt, but that third Incinerate would have taken out Excadrill, but because the animation is so long, they still got to move off. That is what I'm trying to say. So that's a drawback of Incinerate, despite it being a very, very, very strong move overall. What I found difficult with this Pokemon was its moves. So it only has 4 moves: Flamethrower, Overheat, Dragon Pulse, and Flash Cannon. And the cheapest move is both Flamethrower and Overheat are 55 damage. So obviously same damage, same energy. Overheat is just way more damage. Yes, you lower your attack, but just having the nuke I think is worth it. So you can nuke and bail like I did multiple times today. And then you have either Dragon Pulse, which I think just makes sense on a dragon in a meta that has 3 Pokemon and Dragon is one of them. So that just makes sense. But it is a 60 energy move, 108 damage, 1.8 damage per energy, and then it has Flash Cannon, which is 70 energy, even more energy, less damage, 110, 1.57 damage per energy. Not the best, right? So the problem is 55 energy for your cheapest move. Incinerate gets you 25 energy. And that's the problem. You need, the first time around, 3 incinerates to be able to throw one move. And when you have a self nerfing move like overheat, you'll see in a lot of situations I just threw the Dragon Pulse to not lower my attack, but what I'm doing is throwing a 5 higher energy, usually resisted moves into fairies because I don't want to overheat myself. So in terms of the movesets, not ideal, quite honestly. So the overall stat product, I said 1957 overall, 114 attack. Okay, not bad, not terrible. 152 defense and then 112 stamina. So not a high stamina, but a pretty high defense. And you kind of, I felt that at times. I'm like, I remember the first time I took a move, I'm just like, oh, okay, that actually did less than I expected it to. So that was the strength of that. So is this Pokemon good in this meta? Yes. The only issue is what I'm seeing is I saw when this meta is going to be like 8 Pokemon. I saw like more than 8 today, but the meta is basically 8 Pokemon. And 3 other Pokemon, 2 that are on my team, Azumarill and Tapu Fini, and 1 that you're going to see tomorrow on my team, Flygon, cause it problems. Right? So when 3 of the top meta cause you problems, it gets a little tricky. Now, that said, you kill the steals. And there is a lot of, not a lot, but I saw a decent amount of Registeel, Lucario, and Escav today. And those are just like deleted. So from that perspective is good. The Dragon is also where you're limited, right? So you already have Azumarill and Tapu Fini, and Flygon, which is a ground dragon that beats you. You also have the other dragons, and the other dragons are mostly going to have a dragon fast move. So when you are throwing a resisted Incinerate into a dragon matchup, and they're doing super effective dragon, you are in trouble. So between the fairies that are mostly Azumarill and Tapu Fini with the dragons as well that are out there, that's why I don't think it's actually as amazing as PvPoke is ranking it at 7, quite honestly. Again, if I went against a couple all steel teams, so if they are not expecting it, you can definitely just catch them off guard and punish them. But if they do have like two of Azumarill, Tapu Fini, Flygon on their team, and you have Turtonator, you are likely going to lose that matchup, quite honestly. In terms of Azumarill and Tapu Fini, so both are ranked 3 and 5 on PvPoke. Azumarill is obviously, I think, safer, the beast. I ran Play Rough, Hydro Pump. So where are the pros and cons? I at times I wish I had Ice Beam for all the dragons, right? There's multiple times I went against the dragons where I'm like, I have to go to the Play Rough, which still does super effective, but I wish I had the Ice Beam. Counter, I definitely threw Hydro Pump at Registeel multiple times. So I think when there's only 3, and you have to run Play Rough because Tapu Finis and Azumarills are everywhere, so that's a must. You must run Play Rough. The only question is Ice Beam or Hydro. So basically your trade-off is, do you want to throw an Ice Beam, super effective Ice Beam at the dragons faster, or do you want to have a Hydro Pump for all the steals? And I just thought that a Hydro Pump for the steals is probably overall better for the game. So this is my 5-0. So I start off great. And then this is where it gets tricky, right? So Tapu Fini lead, go in here. I'm probably going to get hit with a Registeel because I remember this same sort of thing happening like 4 or 5 times today where I would come in Azumarill and they come in Reggie. Maybe they won't here though. But I remember that happening a few times. And then Tapu Fini, I call it an Azu Light. Water Gun, I think, does a little more. What are the stats on Bubble versus Water Gun? 3.67 energy and 3.2 damage per turn for Bubble. And I think Water Gun does a little more damage per turn here. 3 energy, 3.6 damage. Yeah, so less energy, more damage for Water Gun. but that is why your Surf generally comes pretty quick. 40 energy. Yeah, it's a 40 energy move. Surf is pretty good as opposed to your lowest, which is Ice Beam, is 55. And then if you're running Play Rough and Hydro Pump, it's 60 and 75. So that's where it kind of gets tricky. Flygon's an interesting one. I'll cover Flygon tomorrow, but I think it's probably one of the better Pokemon in this meta. After day one, I'll give you a hint. I'll talk about my team tomorrow sometime in this video. I have not been actually showcasing much of this because I don't think you need to like showcase too much of like how I'm playing. There's only like 8 or 9 Pokemon. Basically, if you're running this team, just be aware that like Azu, Tapu Fini on the lead is tough. Flygon on the lead is actually probably even more tough because obviously Incinerates are resisted, and by the time it's half dragon, so it's neutralizing the water moves, and it's still running a neutral Earth Power, Earth Power or Mud Shot, Scorching Sands. So it really like can sweep Flygon. Empoleon, this was spicy. It was like, but these waters kind of handle Empoleon anyways. So yeah, on the lead, I don't feel like if I don't see a steal that I need to leave. I'm really leaving. The problem is Turtonator is, I just kind of mentioned what you're leaving at. You're leaving at all the dragons because they're usually doing super effective to you. You're leaving at Azu. You're leaving at any water, right? Azu, Tapu, Empoleon. So between all those and the dragons, there's a lot that you're weak to, and Flygon, right? So there's a lot that you lose to. Now your backline mostly deals with all those, but I don't feel like I need to draw out a Registeel, right? Even though when you have double water in the back, you really want to try and draw out that Registeel with the electric and then incinerate and then have the other one run free. I don't feel like I needed to do that today. I felt like as Azu and Tapu in the back can deal with a lot of stuff just in neutral situations, especially when it's like a lot of the other steals, you're probably doing okay. Because think of the other steals: Lucario, counter user; Escav, counter user. I ran into a what's it called? I ran into a. So let me just go over all the other steals. But like Registeel, tough. Stunfisk, obviously you do super effective. Lucario, counter user. Escav, counter user. I didn't see a lot of extra drills today. But also ground, so you'd be doing super effective. Skarmory, you're doing neutral. Mawile, Firefang, you're resisting. Exans actually do okay. Bastionami do good. Like, so it's just like the electric. But even like Magnezone, stuff like that, you can like potentially maneuver your way around. Berserker. I saw Berserker with PV Poke's recommend close combat foul play. They were running Trailblaze as an answer. So I think they like safe swap Berserker, Trailblaze, the water, just to like, and then that's kind of their way to get out of it. And they had I think they had this in the back. Turtonator in the back. But yeah, again, Flygon lead, it's like, okay, that's resisted because of Dragon. I got to come in here. They're going to have a Registeel answer. So in terms of what I would do differently if I were to run this team again, I honestly think it's a couple things. I think that when you're against dragons, you have no fast move to throw at dragons, right? You got a resisted incinerate. You have a slow charging bubble to get to the play rough. Yes, you're taking resistant from the dragon back, so that's okay. But it's slow to get to the play rough. It's slow to get to the Moonblast. So you have no fast move pressure on those Pokemon. Even though you can kind of deal with, like, you should be able to deal with Flygon. Flygon's really tough, especially with energy advantage. So yeah, I would actually, and I actually find that if you're talking about safe swaps, Tapu Fini and Azu are ranked pretty high as safe swaps. but I think there's probably better safe swaps in this meta. And even though Flygon's not ranked as high as a safe swap, I think Flygon's probably better. It's interesting. They have Stunfisk and Exegel as a top safe swap Pokemon, which is kind of interesting. Like, the more I think about, it's not on my next team. So my next team is Togedemaru because of all these Azus, because you can deal with Registeel with Togedemaru, and you can wild charge Tapu Fini and Azumarill. So that's why I'm using that. I'm using Flygon because I think Flygon is very, very safe. And my third Pokemon, what is my third Pokemon? Something to deal with Flygon, I think. I forget my third Pokemon. Come back tomorrow to find out. Is it Mawile? Firefang Mawile is my third Pokemon. Because if you're gonna run a actually that could be pretty, it's working so far because I've seen the reason I ran it. I can already see a flaw in the team, but I mean a flaw with that back the Togedemaru and that, because then Flygon's going to beat both of those and you only have a best and mirror match. But the reason that I put the team together as it is that Togedemaru is weak to fighting, and all the fighters realistically in this meta, not all of them, but the majority of them are either like Lucario or Escav, which are very weak to fire. So that is why, and all the steals. So that is why I put that there. But Flygon could be an issue, so you'd have to like work around that, because Flygon would actually be a really big issue because Togedemaru can't throw anything. Fire Fang is resisted because of the dragon. You resist? No, you don't, because you're you are half steel, half fairy, so you are taking also super effective. So Flygon's gonna kill you. So you're really double weak to Flygon. I've only played a couple games with that team. Maybe I gotta change Mawile. I think you probably need to cover. If I'm putting a team together, quite honestly at this point, I'm only covering 5 Pokemon. I'm covering Azumarill, Tapu Fini, Flygon, Registeel, and maybe a counter user. Like, those are the 5 that I'm covering if I'm doing this again, which I will be doing this again. But again, like Azumarill lead, not much you can do. You have to go at best into a mirror match. There's your Registeel. It was a lot of this today, especially in the last half. So started 5-0, kind of dropped a bit in the back. But yeah, overall, very much what I expected, like 6 to 7 Pokemon dominating. So you just need to figure out what Pokemon you think are best. I tried Galarian Weezing with Overheat for a bit before I changed it. Maybe I'll go back to, no, because Flygon as a ground is going to beat you again there. Like, maybe I should go like an Ice or something to beat, but then I'm double weak to Fighter. And that's the thing, right? When there's only so many Pokemon, it can get tricky real fast. Every single time this Reggie gets a move off, you'll live a Focus Blast, but it takes you pretty, like, that's a decent live. Gotta Overheat, like I said, just chip and then get your other one on it. It's chip low enough that I think I can just go Water Gun Surf at this point. But maybe I just go straight Moonblast because they may expect a bait, or they may just try and go 2 Shield Wizard in the back here. Yeah, so just going straight Moonblast here. This will put it pretty low if they let it go, and they do, so good thing I didn't bait. I'm going to double shield here. Yeah, but like, I'm already kind of screwed. And then here's the thing, like Haxorus. I try my best here. Like Water Gun Surf. If I can get 3 off, sure, I'm going to win. I catch an Earthquake. I'm a Turtonator, but again, this is the thing. Water Gun, Bubble, Incinerate, all resisted on a Dragon. So maybe you want something that can kind of deal a little more damage to Dragon as a replacement. So instead of going like ABB, if you don't have a Tapu or you don't have like an XL Azumarill, do one or the other, Turtonator, and then a third, like a Steel or something like that. Um, Steel, but watch out for Flygon again, right? That's why I think Flygon's very strong. I'll talk about Flygon a lot tomorrow. But that is it. So let me know if you played this league, what you're doing. I'm really having like no desire to play this league, unfortunately. Like I'm filming this video, it's 9:50 at night, and I still have like 2.5 sets to do. So I can change the team up, and I probably will because that just the Mawa doesn't make sense there. Let's just see what PV Poke recommends. If I do Flygon, Togedemaru, what are they going to recommend? Probably like a Azumarill or something. Yeah, Galarian Stunfisk. Wait, no, sorry. Yeah, Azumarill is number 3. Escav, Lucario, or Azumarill. Tapu Fini, right? It's limited. A counter user. Escav, Lucario. Yeah, I can try that. Maybe Escav, because then if you're gonna get killed by Flygon, I'd rather just have something that can kind of somewhat deal with Flygon. So I'll try Escav. Does make you double weak to fire though. If you run Escav or Lucario, it does make you double weak to fire, which is why they're probably recommending a Azumarill Tapu Fini, right? It's just such a limited cup. It's really, really annoying. Skarmory is an interesting one though, because you resist all the ground moves and the dragon move. I mean, that still makes you double weak to fire, but Skarmory is an interesting one because it will wall Flygon. And we may have to go there anyways. Anyways, that's it. That's my sort of thoughts, sort of rambling video. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one.